$500 billion question. Let's be direct. Is Make America Great Again as straightforward as the slogan sounds? To answer that, we need to trace exactly how America plans to become great through AI, and where that plan hits a wall. The current policy direction is clear. America First means manufacturing at home, jobs at home, and dominance in the technologies that will define the next century. On January 21st, 2025, his very first working day in office, President Trump announced the Stargate Project, a $500 billion AI infrastructure initiative. The partners read like a who's who of the tech world: Sam Altman of OpenAI, Masayoshi Son of SoftBank, and Larry Ellison of Oracle. The mission? Build the world's most powerful cluster of data centers and energy systems to train the next generation of AI models. Oracle has already confirmed construction of the first 10 buildings in Texas, each exceeding 46,000 square meters. 2 days later, Trump signed Executive Order 14,179, designed to remove every regulatory barrier from the Biden era, cutting safety regulations deemed obstacles to innovation, fast-tracking permits for data centers and semiconductor plants, mandating that government-purchased AI systems remain ideologically neutral. No political bias. This is America's direct counterstrike against China's rise in the global tech race. The goal? Lead the world in AI. In other words, make America great again through AI dominance. More than a stimulus package. For anyone who follows geopolitics closely, this $500 billion is not simply an economic stimulus. It is an attempt to restructure global technological power. The Stargate Project is a massive public-private partnership mobilizing the resources of private superpowers, OpenAI, SoftBank, Oracle, NVIDIA. By concentrating hundreds of billions into computational infrastructure, GPUs, data centers, America aims to remain the undisputed host of the world's largest AI training operations. But here is the first hard truth. A machine this large runs on energy, and energy is the wall surrounding the AI prison. Data centers at this scale consume electricity at a staggering rate. Trump's response? Revive coal plants, accelerate nuclear, have AI corporations sign pledges not to raise electricity costs for ordinary citizens. But prioritizing power for AI over traditional industries risks creating economic fractures inside America itself. The geopolitical weapon. The $500 billion is also America's economic nuclear weapon in its confrontation with China. End-to-end control. America wants to own not just chip design, but the physical infrastructure: land, energy, fiber optic cables. Expansion beyond borders. Stargate has already extended to the UK, Norway, Japan, and most significantly, Stargate UAE. America's partnership with the UAE through MGX is a strategic move to isolate Chinese influence across the Middle East. Technically, yes, America is creating a computational infrastructure gap that no nation can close in the short term. Economically and socially, far less certain. The project may generate millions of high-skilled jobs, but the same AI explosion is a direct threat to traditional labor markets. If AI is used to optimize production and reduce energy costs for everyone, America's future greatness becomes real. But if it serves only to concentrate wealth among tech billionaires and control global data flows, then greatness takes on a very different meaning. The problem always comes back to China. Here is where the plan runs into a wall that no amount of money can instantly demolish. AI needs high-performance chips. Chips need rare earth elements: neodymium, terbium, dysprosium. And the uncomfortable reality? China controls approximately 60% of global rare earth mining and over 85% of global refining capacity. America can build chip fabrication plants in Arizona and Texas, but the raw materials for permanent magnets and advanced semiconductor components still flow from Beijing. To prevent the $500 billion from becoming an indirect subsidy for China, the Trump administration is running two parallel strategies. reviving domestic mining, accelerating extraction at sites like Mountain Pass in California, and sourcing from allies in Australia and Canada. Alternative technologies. Apple and Tesla are racing to develop motors and components that eliminate rare earth dependencies. But scaling this for Stargate's supercomputers remains years away. If China tightens rare earth exports, America's $500 billion faces a severe supply crisis. Chip production costs spike, investors bleed. America is trying to build an AI fortress on land that belongs to its adversary. The rare earth trap is deeper than it looks. Here is what most people misunderstand. Rare earths are not actually rare. What is rare is the technology to separate and refine them without catastrophic environmental damage. Consider Brazil, home to some of the world's largest rare earth reserves, yet most of its ore still ships to China for processing. Brazil is also a core BRICS member, playing both sides expertly, willing to sell rare earths to America for dollars, but unwilling to alienate China, its largest trading partner. More fundamentally, rare earths are nothing like oil. You cannot simply mine and sell. The real chain looks like this. Stage. Difficulty. Mining the ore. Relatively manageable. Separating elements. Extremely difficult. High purity refining. Very difficult. Manufacturing magnets. Extremely difficult. Industrial scale production. Near impossible to replicate quickly. China's true power is not its ore deposits. It is the complete industrial ecosystem, the engineers, the factories, the chemicals, the logistics, the state subsidies, built over more than 30 years. The world depends on China's processing capacity, not just its mines. America and Australia have active partnerships. Lynas Rare Earths, the largest rare earth company outside China, is receiving U.S. financial support. New processing plants are being built. But China's countermove is devastating. It can sell at a loss, sustained by state subsidies, long enough to strangle any competitor. This playbook has already killed Western competition in solar panels, steel, lithium batteries, and rare earth magnets. Even if America and Australia succeed, building a complete alternative supply chain requires 5 to 10 years, tens of billions of dollars, specialized engineers, and environmental permits, in an era when environmental regulation is a serious obstacle in Western democracies, while China builds at speed. The TSMC problem. The paradox of self-sufficiency. Rare earths are not the only vulnerability. The chips themselves are the other exposed flank. TSMC's first Arizona factory, Fab 21, entered commercial production in early 2026. But it manufactures at 4 nanometers. The most powerful AI chips NVIDIA and Apple need for 2026 to 2027 require 2 nanometers or below. And those cutting-edge nodes? TSMC keeps them in Taiwan. America, for the next 2 to 3 years, can only manufacture the outer shell. The heart of global AI still sits across a strait from mainland China, a strait China never stops threatening. To address this, America and Taiwan signed the Pax Silica Agreement in January 2026, a $250 billion cross-investment deal designed to bind TSMC's destiny to American soil. Intel is simultaneously building what could become over $100 billion in domestic chip manufacturing across Ohio and Arizona, trying to become the only American company that both designs chips and competes as a foundry against TSMC. Samsung is building a major fab in Texas. Micron is investing heavily in memory chips, the HBM and DRAM that AI needs in massive quantities, in New York and Idaho. But the honest summary remains. For the next 2 to 3 years, the $500 billion is primarily a down payment on the future, not an immediate power shift. America may be great in press releases, but in supply chains and balance sheets, every eye is fixed on the Taiwan Strait. The Hidden Guardian, Japan's ghost. Here is where history adds an unexpected dimension. China's military exercises around Taiwan have been consistent, threatening but contained. Why? Part of the answer involves Japan. Japan has declared unambiguously, Taiwan's security is Japan's security. For Beijing, America is a strategic rival. Japan is something more visceral, an open wound in historical memory. If conflict erupted in the Taiwan Strait and Japan intervened, Beijing would not experience it as a territorial dispute. It would feel like a historical rematch with an adversary that once brought the fight to China's doorstep. Japan's deterrent value is enormous. Energy dependence. 90% of Japan's energy passes through waters near Taiwan. Taiwan's fall would mean Japan's energy supply falls under hostile control, making Japanese intervention nearly certain. Military capability. Japan operates one of the world's most advanced submarine fleets and anti-submarine warfare capabilities. Its self-defense forces function as a psychological lock on any Chinese military planning. Strategic shift. Japan's record defense budget increases, and Tomahawk missile acquisitions signal it has moved beyond passive defense. China must reckon with a Japan that once chose to confront the world's greatest power rather than submit. The memory of American industrial mobilization during the Pacific War, transforming peacetime factories into a weapons-producing colossus, haunts any calculation involving a US-Japan combined response. Under this lens, the $500 billion is the body. The US-Japan-Taiwan alliance is the soul. Without the stability that Japan's ghost imposes on Chinese calculations, no Stargate data center has a factory to run. Reality check. Where Stargate stands in 2026. The picture is less triumphant than the announcement suggested. Stargate supercenters in Abilene, Texas are behind schedule, not from lack of money, but lack of electricity. American power grids cannot handle the gigawatt-scale consumption that NVIDIA's Blackwell chips require on the timeline demanded. Despite Executive Order 14,179, environmental lawsuits and state-level resistance to electricity price increases have stalled the project in multiple locations. UAE. The Gulf Partnership, expected to provide financial leverage and energy capacity, suffered a significant blow in March 2026 when drone attacks targeted cloud infrastructure in the UAE, proving that positioning America's AI brain in the Middle East carries extreme physical security risks. Congressional concerns about technology leakage to China through UAE partners have tightened chip transfer controls beyond initial projections. Supply chain costs. China has not been idle. Over the past 2 years, it has progressively tightened exports of refined materials, driving up the cost of American AI infrastructure construction far beyond original estimates. The $500 billion is increasingly sufficient only to build the physical shell, the buildings and power lines, while the chips and materials carry a price America does not control. Trump has generated an AI expectation bubble. Announce $500 billion to assert dominance, collide with the reality of insufficient rare earths, insufficient power, and Middle Eastern instability, and arrive at 2026 still far from genuine self-sufficiency. While China has quietly deployed AI throughout its manufacturing and logistics networks, leveraging its material advantages and lower costs. The remaining time in Trump's term is almost certainly insufficient to produce the AI revolution his announcements promised. The scenario nobody wants to model: 2028. If Democrats retake the White House in 2028, what happens to $500 billion in mid-construction infrastructure? The risk is structural, not speculative. Chip fabrication plants require 5 to 7 years to reach stable operation. Trump's aggressive subsidies and regulatory rollbacks could accelerate Intel's timeline, but a single executive order requiring new environmental impact assessments or restructuring subsidy taxation could freeze those factories mid-construction. In semiconductors, 1 year of delay means the technology is already obsolete. Billions in investment become non-performing assets. A Democratic administration would almost certainly restore strict net zero compliance, potentially constraining the energy supply that AI supercomputers require and further slowing a project already behind schedule. Different AI investment priorities, healthcare AI, climate AI, worker retraining, would shift resources away from raw computational dominance. For investors like SoftBank and Oracle, changing the rules mid-game is a disaster. The great construction sites of Texas and Ohio could become technological ruins, infrastructure built but prohibited from running at full capacity under new regulatory frameworks. The deepest problem: political fracture. The rare earth deficit is serious. The chip dependency is serious. But the deepest structural problem may be political polarization itself. Republicans prioritize productivity and strategic independence, accepting environmental and labor trade-offs to move as fast as possible. Democrats prioritize equity and sustainability, worried that uncontrolled AI acceleration will devastate the middle-class workforce. And paradoxically, in trying to protect workers from AI, they risk weakening America's competitive position against China. China has a 20 to 30-year strategy that does not change. America risks a 180-degree policy reversal every 4 years. This is not merely a loss of money. It is a loss of investor confidence in governmental stability. Would any rational actor commit $100 billion to a factory that might be deemed non-compliant under the next administration's standards? Intel can build fabs. NVIDIA can design the world's most powerful chips. America can pour additional trillions into AI. But no corporation can solve the problem that sits above all of them. How do you sustain a long-term national strategy inside a political system that continuously divides and reverses direction after every election? That is the question $500 billion cannot answer. That is the question Make America Great Again does not address. And until it does, the slogan remains exactly what slogans tend to be: a declaration of intent in a world that runs on supply chains, rare earth processing capacity, semiconductor fabs, and political continuity. The greatness is real in its ambition. Whether it survives contact with reality is the story still being written.